think if no one has any objection, we'll go ahead and get started a little bit early in our effort to try to get you out of here by 1 o'clock. So we do appreciate you coming today. Thank you. It's good to see all of you. Mary Renner is sick today. She did come and bring something from Springfield that she needed to bring to me, but then she left and went home, and it's a good thing she did. I think she's pretty sick. We do want to thank Lincoln Land Community College, Dee Kruger, and Dr. Warren. I don't see her. I don't think she's here right yet. But we do thank you for hosting this meeting, and thank you for your participation with Ccedc, as always.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I understand you're going to provide a tour for those who would like to. Do you want to talk about that, Dee?
Sure. If anyone hasn't seen the facility and would like a tour, I'll be happy to provide that after the meeting.
Okay. We also want to recognize we have a visitor with us today who hopefully is a board member to be, as we will decide later today. Larry Carlin is here with us today. We're glad that you're here. Bob Gibbs, would you like to introduce Larry and tell us a little bit about Larry?
Yes.
Thank you.
I've known Larry since I moved to Taylorville in 1987. He works for Ameren, as I have. I retired 3 weeks ago after 41 and a half years. And Larry, I don't know his whole history, but I believe he was in Taylorville all his life, like Larry, most of it. And the Carlin family, for those who may know some of them, there were a bunch of them. And he was a lineman. And then in recent years, he had jobs in Taylorville area, Springfield, Decatur as supervisors, and he's now at our North Pana office as the electric construction supervisor and team leader. And I want to hand it to Larry because a couple of years ago he got his degree, and I would hate to try to do that at my age already, or at his age at the time. I kind of went back for that one, and I think he'll make a good board member. He knows the area well. He knows utilities well. So with that, Larry, you want to say anything?
No, I think you covered it well.
Okay. We've all known the Carlin family for a lot of years. We've all known you, Larry, and we all know Puddin'. So, I mean, we know your better half, better than we know you. But, no, I'm kidding. But we're delighted that you're willing to serve as a board member, and we look forward to your approval here in just a few minutes. Okay? Thank you. First item on the agenda is a motion is needed for the approval of the executive team meetings for May 15th and June 19th, and the full board of directors meeting, which was held on March 26, 2013. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Mr. Hart? Is there a second to Mr. Hart's motion? Mr. Rabb? Discussion? All right, you've heard that motion from Mr. Hart, seconded by Mr. Rabb. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, the treasurer's report. Do we interrupt your little bit of your lunch here, Mr. Lawrence? Are you okay?
No.
All right.
I'm going to stand up because I've got a terrible reputation of being a lousy representative. Don't you have a copy of my May 31st tax report, which is basically accounting from January 1st through the end of May. First day, we have $61,754 in the bank, which is probably an all-time record, and no liabilities. Going up to today, after the payment of unit expenses, we have $55,740 in the bank, and in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I set out approximately $14,000 in billings, and we have some more money coming in from the Hopper Foundation and that type of thing. So we're in pretty good financial shape. Page 2 has our expenses. Receipts of the pledges and donations are listed on the first page, and also the enterprise zone fees are listed on that third page. Year-to-date, over roughly, since March, about 15 months, we've collected $143,477 in net on fees, and our 75%, $107,005. We're having probably an unusual year as the enterprise zone fees have been capped at $50,000. Expenses are all routine with the director, Mary Leonard expenses, my accounting bills, got some memberships for Mary and the council, and little expenses in the area of plaques and miscellaneous. So that basically my report. I've had a year-to-date, June 30th, which is our fiscal year. Probably by the next executive committee.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Lawrence's report? Mayor Brotherton, is there a second? Mr. Gibbs? Discussion? Questions? All right, you've heard that motion from Mayor Brotherton, seconded by Mr. Gibbs. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Okay, we're going to kind of leave it to you to read Mary's report. I'm just going to try to go through it with you briefly. Obviously, she's not here to give it, so we'll do the best we can. I think all of you are familiar with the Tenaska project and what has happened with that. That was not called for a vote, and Tenaska has subsequently, Mayor, you may want to update us on that. I think they have subsequently made the decision to not pursue the project any further, correct?
That's exactly right. You know, they made multiple attempts, and Bart Ford has gone back to the board several different times and asked permission to give it yet another try. And I think it's finally to the point where he just didn't have the inner strength to try it one more time, to go back and say, hey, let's put a few more million into this project that doesn't appear to be gaining any traction. So I think he reluctantly decided that they're not going to pursue it anymore. What will happen to the land, that's still a question at this point. And they may sell it. They may hang on to it and just sit on it for a year or two to see what else comes their way. But that's still up in the air at this point.
I'm kind of hopeful they will sit on it for a little while. I think that could be a property that could be very saleable, in my opinion. I mean, there's railroad there. There's good. It's a good piece of property with, I think, some of the utilities there. So that we hope that they might consider it and maybe let that be sold. Yes, sir.
Do you know how many acres they own?
I'm not sure.
Wasn't it 300 and
Well, the 300 plus.
342 is what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Am I wrong on that?
No,
Is that
correct.
are we close? About 350.
And they were projecting only around 850 with the options they had.
Yes, sir. Okay. So that's where we are with Tenaska. There's nothing new at the moment. Rhino Energy, as you know, that project was kind of tied to the Tenaska project, and we don't expect anything to develop on that. Is that correct from what you know, sir? All right. Solid Rock Produce, we did, as described here, that plant did close. We had like 1 or 2 days notice that they were going to close that facility. I think there was about 20 jobs there that were lost as a result of that closure. For those of you that don't know, this is the building out next to Waste Management. The greenhouses where Buckley's first came, if you recall that. And basically they have they've been communicating with Mary about it quite extensively, and it sounds to me like they were pretty highly undercapitalized as they went into that venture. Sounds like the cost to get that building up to the level where they wanted it to be kind of buried them. Would that be a fair analysis of what you heard from Mary at our exec team? We've done a good job following up with them, trying to, there wasn't really anything that could be done to assist them. So that's the case with Rock Solid Produce. Clean Line Energy, I'm just going to let you read that, and I think all of you are. If there's something here you want to talk about, please stop me as we go through, but otherwise I'm just going to let you read it. I don't think there's anything there that's worth we need to comment on. Dominion, that project, they're still waiting for approval when the sale can be finalized. I think Mary has indicated in our exec team meetings that she's not anticipating any loss of jobs or any change at the site. Series of events going on there. We'll let you be responsible for reading that. I'm sorry I'm doing this in kind of a haphazard way. Mary would normally give you a little more explanation, but given the fact that she's ill today, we'll hope that that works. Does anybody have any questions about anything on Mary's report that we need to bring up that I've forgotten to mention? Those of you who have heard Mary give that report. Mary, is there anything I'm skipping over? Or?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Anybody else? George, anything? Yes, sir.
We want to mention, Computer Tech had their ribbon
Oh.
cutting yesterday.
Exactly.
And legal,
No, sir, I could not.
well, several of us went, and it's a very impressive addition to Taylorville. There'll be probably a little increase in employment of 4, and they're starting right away to solicit new business on their fiber optics.
That's outstanding. Okay, with that, if you're satisfied, I'd like to get a motion to approve Mary's report, please.
So moved.
Mr. Sperling, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Mr. Lawrence, discussion, questions, because that wasn't a very thorough report, but I'm subbing today, so. You okay? You've heard the motion from Mr. Sperling, seconded by Mr. Lawrence. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Thank you. The exec team has spent, probably total a couple of hours trying to work on the goals and objectives for this organization. What we tried to do was to have these goals and objectives to be for the balance of 2013 and for 2014. They are listed here on your agenda. The executive team has approved them, and so we bring them to you today for your discussion, for your approval, and those will, our suggestion is that those become our goals for the next year and a half as we move forward into 2014. Have you seen them enough? You're okay? Don't need to talk about them? If not, we'll need a motion to approve them, please, when you're ready. Mr. Hart, is there a second to the motion? I'm sorry, Mr. Martin? Discussion? You okay? All right, you've heard the motion from Mr. Hart, seconded by Mr. Martin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So we'll establish those as our goal. They will appear on our agenda so that we're reminded about them as we move forward. I think we have briefly talked just a little bit about John Lawrence's retirement. He has now made that official, and we want to talk about that. The executive team has come up with a way that we believe would be a good way to handle that, and we do want to talk about that. First, we want to talk about Mr. Lawrence just a little bit. He's going to officially given us word that he's going to retire on October 31st, 2013. So hopefully he's giving us plenty of time to find somebody to replace him. Mr. Lawrence has been with, as you know, or maybe you don't know, he also does the accounting work for the Taylorville Development Association, of which Mr. Hart is the president. And he has been with that used to be the TIDC, as you know. And he's been with TIDC, Mr. Lawrence has, since 1969. And he has been with Ccedc, I can't get all my letters correct, since 1988, I think, at the time that we were formed. Mr. Lawrence does a lot for us behind the scenes that you may or may not know about. For example, he has all of the documentation on the TDA and all of the documentation on Ccedc. everything from industrial park, maps, everything that we need, he has, and he's maintained all of that. We tried to keep everything with him so that he would have all of the documents in one place, and when people go in and out of the board, in and off the board, and everything changes, we had a place where we kept everything. So he served in that capacity. He advises, he directs, he's just been a terrific person to work with, and we're going to miss him in a very enormous way because he does so much for us. He's also something that any time that we need to know what happened in about 1995, John, do you remember that? Give him a little time, and he will remember it, and he'll be able to help us with who was involved, what was said, how it came down, and all of the stories. So we're going to miss John enormously as we move forward. Let's talk about the process of trying to find a replacement for John so that you will know what the exec team thinks is a way to handle this. The system of John doing the accounting for Ccedc and for the TDA, the Technical Development Association, we think is critical to continue that. We'd like to find somebody who would do both of those. And Mr. Hart and I have had pretty lengthy conversations about it. We think it's in both of our best interests, since the organizations are pretty closely tied, to have both organizations served by one person to do the accounting and the record keeping. So what the exec team has indicated is that around August 15th, Ken Hart, Mary Renner, and myself will meet and John has given us a list of 3 people that he thinks would do a good job, 3 recommendations of people that he thinks would do a good job and have an interest in economic development. So we're going to meet on August 15th. We're going to try to interview at least those 3 people. We're going to talk about other options, but primarily focusing on the 3 people that John thinks would be good at it. And Ken and Mary and myself are going to interview those people. We're going to try to bring a recommendation back by the middle of September to the exec team of Ccedc so that the exec team can approve it. And then there is our next board meeting. Help me with our next board meeting here, guys. It's October 18th. We want to get that person approved then, and we want the balance of that time to allow that person who we choose to have some time to work with Mr. Lawrence and get things moved and get everything handled hopefully in the correct way, in a very professional way. Does that sum it up, exec team members? Is that pretty close to what the board approved? I believe it is. So what we're looking for is your approval of that process. We think that'll work well. We think it'll eventually fill Mr. Lawrence's position if anybody can fill that position, and that's the way we'd like to handle it. We're open for discussion about it. If you have better ideas, we're certainly open for that. That's just what we think will work. Any comments, discussion, anything that you'd like to offer to help us? All right. Is that process one that would work well for the board? Are you okay with that? All right. Then why don't we get a motion to approve that process? Would someone care to make that motion? Mr. Rabb? Is there a second? Second. Kruger? Okay. Discussion? All right. Yes, sir.
I would only add, certainly appreciate your comments as my value to this group. It's not like I'm going to close the office and move to Florida or my Indiana condo or that type of stuff. Tentatively, I would like to close the office, cancel my lease around October 31st, and with the other clients, I have to transition that I'm going to be around. I mean, I'll move my office to the home and probably continue some stuff I just have to, and have to say that I feel no one, particularly me, is non-expendable, but we'll have a good transition sooner or later.
It'll work fine. Also, I do need to tell you, Mr. Lawrence would like to continue to serve on the board, I think, through 2014, correct? You'd like to
That's tentative.
continue to serve on the board, and that would be helpful to us as we make this transition, I think, and so I'm sure that that'll be done, sir. Okay, any more discussion? Any further discussion? All right, you've heard the motion from Mr. Rabb, seconded by by D. Kruger, excuse me, I'm sorry, by Mr. Kruger. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. Thank you. Oh, we got another old timer here retiring. Somebody brought me a copy of the prison hearing, which was what, 1980? You remember that public hearing? You participated in that.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
In high school, I was one of the speakers.
You sure were. Bob has been involved with economic development since I've been in Taylorville. TDA, Ccedc, I think you've been here
Since 87.
in my mind since 1987. Took a little breather there for a while, but back on, I think. Am I correct on that?
Correct. I was in and out and
All around.
all around.
The other thing that's been very advantageous that we hope to continue with Mr. Carlin, if he is approved today, which we hope he will be, is that it's been very nice with issues that had to do with utilities. Anything that came along, I remember as an example on 2 or 3 projects in Taylorville where you had to play a big role in getting something hammered out with a company that was coming to Taylorville that had to do with electricity, something that were gas perhaps, something where you were helping us, and we really have appreciated that input that you provided to us, Bob.
Thank you.
And we want to honor you on your retirement from the board. In fact, I'm going to bring you the box and the whole thing so we can give it all to you.
Sure.
All right. We have a little plaque for you that we made, Bob, to thank you for your service. And the plaque says, "This award is presented to Bob Gibbs from the Board of Directors with sincere appreciation for services to the Christian County Economic Development Corporation." Bob, thank you for that. The mayor would say this, not only for Ccedc, TDA, but the city, all of your input to it's a tough guy. Good luck, Bob. He's Larry. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
It's been a pleasure working with all of you over the years, and I'm still going to be here in town. I'm not moving out, moving away either. Too many grandchildren around this area.
Gotcha. All right. The executive team, Mr. Gibbs had made the recommendation that Mr. Carlin take his place. The executive team considered that. We all know Larry Carlin. We think an awful lot of Larry and his family and what he's done, and we'd like to have him involved with us. And so the executive team is making the recommendation to you that Mr. Carlin replace Mr. Gibbs on the board of directors. So we'll need the board to make that decision now.
Do you need a motion?
We need a motion to approve Mr. Carlin replacing Mr. Gibbs. Mayor
I
Brotherton?
would be happy to make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Mr. Hart? Discussion. All in, you're all done. Bill Hager used to say. Yeah. All right, you've heard that motion from Mayor Brotherton, seconded by Mr. Hart. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So Larry, congratulations. We look forward to working with you. We will be having an indoctrination for you and any other board members. By the way, we do have a few vacancies on the board. The executive team is working to bring people to the board, and so we'll be bringing that recommendation to you at our next meeting. But we will be having an orientation for you, which usually has been done by Mary and I, and we'll sit down with you for a little while and go through what the board is trying to accomplish, how we function, and kind of lay it out for you. Would that be okay? And we'll try to get a time that's good for you, and Mary will get in touch with you about that as we move forward. All right? Thank you for agreeing to serve. We appreciate it. And Bob, again, thanks for everything you've done, not only for this organization, but for Taylorville.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Okay. All right. Is there any other items of business? We already thanked the Lincoln Land Community College, and Dee, we appreciate you. Thank you for everything. Our next executive team meeting is scheduled for August 21st, and the full board meeting is scheduled for October 18th. I think, as you will recall, we have the board meeting, I think, at 12 o'clock. I think Mary did want me to ask you, and by the way, then the board meeting will precede that annual meeting, and we'll get information to you out about that. Mary did want me to ask you if you She has a couple of ideas regarding people who might be good speakers for our annual meeting. If you know of anyone that you believe would be a good speaker for our annual meeting, please get that information to Mary. I think we had talked, did we not? Did we mention Jack Schultz? Did somebody help me? Was that?
Yeah.
Didn't somebody say that?
So.
And then there was another person that she.
Paula Dean? No.
Paula Dean, yeah. Yeah, Paula Dean was the other. Yeah, she's going to do a little speaking for us. There's somebody else she was considering too. I don't recall who that was. But if you know of anyone that you believe would be a good speaker for us, please get the information to Mary and we'll make sure. Is there anything further that needs to come before the board or be discussed? Mr. Lawrence.
Is there a sign-in register circulating?
I have it, sir.
Okay.
Did everybody do that?
Don't look like it.
Doesn't look like everybody did that. Okay. Oh, and I'm sorry. I apologize. Mary did want me to send this around. Should have done this at the beginning. If your email address or your address or phone number has changed, please change it on the sheet and get that back to me, and we'll. I think they are all identical. Yes. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry I had to step out.
No, you're doing great.
That was Carl Adams from Illinois Heritage, working with the highway. We're not having a highway meeting this month. For those of you that attend, not enough work has been done because of the rain. But we will be in July. And they'll be in, UCM will be in to talk to us. Give us an update.
Very good,
I'll be
sir.
calling a lot of people this afternoon to cancel my meeting.
Okay.
Those of you that are here.
Mike, thank you for the update. Are there any other items to come before the board?
We do have a few missing that they stop by after.
Okay, those of you who did not sign the sign-in sheet, if you do that with Mr. Lawrence, we sure would appreciate it before you leave. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion?
Mr. Beavers, second by Mayor Brotherton. Discussion? Okay, you've heard the motion from Mr. Beavers, seconded by Mayor Brotherton. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're done. Thank you very much for your help.